wanted to ask you about was like, so there's like the big pharma lobbyists, like there's 1,800 big pharma lobbyists in Washington, D.C.
Right.
There's only 535 total representatives or senators.
Hey guys, I want to respond to what Candace Owens said about Israel. Kind of broke the internet with her comments, saying that these aren't real Jews that were there that established it, that the Rothschilds and others ended up being the founders of the nation state of Israel.
How did you get addicted? How did?
No, I would just do cocaine. That was really, yeah. So not just, yeah.
That's down and dirty, right?
Yeah. And I mean,
Just a couple of comments as someone who's been working human trafficking cases and organ harvesting cases in that region and around the world. Again, Candace is a friend of mine. She's actually funded many of our rescue operations. I'm not picking a fight.
How do we stop that, man? It just seems like it's obviously killing people. The lobbyists are winning, it feels like.
Yeah, they're winning. They're making a lot of money, absolutely.
Can you stop that? Can a president stop that? Like, how do we stop that?
Well, one way you could stop it is to say, if you're going to go into government, you can never be a lobbyist.
Sackler family with the drug companies, they hired people that were on the FDA to work for them so they could loophole the laws.
Yeah.
Or,
What's going on, everybody? Today, I have two main stories I want to talk about and a third later. The first one is going to be a reaction to Theo Von podcasting with Donald Trump. It's already got over 7 million views on YouTube. It was super interesting. And Trump, traditionally hadn't done that many interviews and podcasts outside of the Fox News, like normal orbit. And I found it interesting enough to want to talk about for multiple reasons, including Theo Von bringing up big pharma and doing a better journalistic job than most journalists. Second, I want to talk about and listen to the video from Tim Ballard, who is famous for his anti-human trafficking missions. The movie, I believe it was called Sound of Freedom. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. I never saw it, but I know it's a big conservative-leaning movie that was popular among the right because they were bringing awareness to human trafficking. He had something to say about Candace Owens talking about Israel and that topic. So I wanted to react to that clip as well, play a few of them and just give my response. And that's the show for today. Also, the third topic, I'll just do a spoiler now. Scientists are now confused at why the ocean is cooling. They don't know why it's cooling. And I find it fascinating that scientists, a lot of the same ones, even though it's a different category, during the pandemic, we really got to see what the science industry was. And when it comes to that topic, as well as Earth, even the smartest scientists on planet Earth is not more powerful than Earth. And you will constantly be thrown a curve. Pun semi, not really intended. Hope you enjoyed today's episode. Give me a thumbs up in the chat. And for the algorithm, if it sounds and looks good, Dream Rare Podcast starts now.
It's the Dream Rare Podcast. Welcome to the show. The way to get the news at the desk or on the road. Let's go. God is great and success in our control. The world is crazy, but we get better from obstacles. Yeah.
What's going on, everybody? Appreciate you for being here. I just want to let you guys know if you do super chats now, I'm not going to see them, but towards the end of the video, I'll probably read a few if they're recent. I just have to really pay attention for this one because I have a lot of clips to really show you guys. So before I start, I just want to do this. You guys know that I'm very picky with people that I allow to sponsor me, but I want to show you guys this real quick. It's called ancientessence.com. I'll bring it up later, but they got essential oils. This is frankincense and myrrh. This is a roll-on frankincense. And before they had contacted me, I've used essential oils for years. I've known the health benefits of them. I've had a diffuser in my place for years now to mix with water to diffuse into the air. It smells good, but there's also great health benefits to that. So I'm going to talk about that later and show you more, but it's ancientessence.com. You could type it in on Google or spell it. And the code is DREAM, DREAM, for 10% off entire order. If you've ever wanted essential oils or you got them, check out ancientessence.com. Support the show, support people who support the show. And you guys know me, I turn down most sponsorships, but essential oils I have no issue with. In fact, I've used them even before they contacted me. So that's what it is. Let's get into it. When it comes to the Theo Von Donald Trump interview, people know I've been critical of Trump here. I'm not just a kiss ass. Sorry if I could have used a better word than ass. I apologize if that's a curse to some. But anyway, I'm not the type of person that just says, oh my gosh, that's so amazing. Wow, Trump on Sean Hannity, that's so great. In fact, me personally, I'm just going to be honest. Trump's interviews have bored me for a long time. I used to really like them in 2018, 2019, even parts of 2020. Since then, I've been pretty bored with almost every interview I've seen. I wanted to watch the Theo Von interview because Theo's funny. I saw a few clips, and it really made Trump look great. I'm so glad that he did this because personally, I think this is the most likable Trump I've ever seen. And when you're just constantly surrounded by political questions and like the left says the same things and the right says the same things, it just gets boring. Where Theo Von is a little bit more weird and he's like kind of joking, but then not joking. And Trump really came out looking really good, telling stories about his brother's addiction with alcohol. And I believe personally, like this is the most relatable Trump. This is the most interesting Trump I've seen in a long time. And I'm not even going to cover the DNC clown show. While I think it is important for the wrong or right reasons, stuff like this hits the culture more. Like Trump getting 7 to 8 million views on YouTube, probably tens of millions of streams on podcast apps. Like that's going to affect the youth and people in the middle more. Cause I think Theo is pretty apolitical for the most part. And he's well beloved because he's so goofy and funny. And, you know, I'm just an honest person. I wouldn't even say I'm a big Trump critic because I don't consider myself a critic. I'm just not a liar. So, you know, I call it like I see it. And I was really into the podcast. I thought it was really funny, and Trump was throwing some curveballs, and his personality shined. And, you know, I enjoyed it quite thoroughly. So here's a few clips that stood out to me. The first one was Trump talking about addiction with Theo, which is a problem that probably over half the country's either dealing with or has family dealing with. So this is a relatable issue to everyone, whether it's something serious or something, you know, not that crazy, but addiction is something that everyone struggles with. Here's the first clip.
Alcoholism, addiction, intimacy disorders, all types of stuff, you know? So it's like it's pretty kind of normal conversation, but,
you know, the interesting thing is, and I tell people, so I never had a cigarette and I've never had a glass of alcohol. And my brother was incredible. He would tell me, because he knew he had a problem, and he'd say, don't ever drink, don't ever smoke. He'd always add smoking because he did smoke a lot. And I would say that if I did drink, I could, you know, conceivably be the type of personality that would have, like you, that would have a problem. But I never had, and the only.
I sped up the clips because I don't want to get copyright stricken, but there's like if you just listen to the podcast, you know, I just want to promote it since I'm using clips of it. If you want to hear the full context, listen to it, because they talk for almost 20 minutes about, and I've heard this story from Trump before, but this was really thorough, where he was saying that his brother had a huge alcohol problem, and it was him that showed Trump, like, you know, you better not go down this path, because, you know, Trump said he was super talented, super charming and everything, but alcohol kind of ruined his life in some ways. And Theo talked about his addiction as well. And I thought the back and forth was just like super chill. Like the podcast was under an hour, so it wasn't super long, and I didn't get bored through the whole thing. Here's the part that I wanted to clip out before I got to the Pharma stuff, because Trump is like, he almost turned it into like a thing where he got Theo to say his problems, and Trump was like, you know, I don't have those problems, but I relate to people. It's in my family. That's why I stayed away from it. And Trump's energy, like he almost turned into Theo's psychologist. Like you'll watch this clip and you'll see what I mean, where Trump's like asking him questions, and then he turns it on Theo, and then Theo answers, and Trump just keeps prying because he's so fascinated. Trump is somebody who's never smoked, never drank, never did drugs. He's fascinated that Theo Von was addicted to cocaine. Like Trump said, it's a dirty drug, and started like, he was just like, it was almost like a child looking at like a, you know, being at a SeaWorld or something and seeing something fascinating. Like Trump had this childlike fascination. Like, how did you get addicted to cocaine? Like, tell me more, because Trump doesn't understand it, but is trying to. So here's the clip. I thought it was pretty funny.
And literally the time is so short. If you take it for like 2 weeks, you're almost addicted to it. It's incredible when you.
Oh, well, all of that is horrible. But why do we allow that?
How did you get addicted? How did?
No, I would just do cocaine. That was really, So not just,
That's down and dirty, right?
Yeah. And
But you don't anymore?
No, I don't do it anymore, man. And I'm not doing it.
Is it too much? Too much to handle?
Some of the stuff started to get a real rattle.
Trump goes, that's down and dirty. He's like, you did cocaine? And Trump's like, that's down and dirty. That's funny. But then he's just like, how? You know, did you stop? Was it too much? Like that whole back and forth was like super cool. I liked it and I enjoyed it thoroughly. It was interesting seeing like Theo processing, like I have a former president, you know, possibly soon to be next president, here asking me about my cocaine habits. Like you could tell Theo was like a little like, I didn't expect it to go all the way here, but what am I going to do? Like just ignore Trump? I'm going to answer his questions. So I thought that was really funny. Besides all the stuff where it's like, oh, that's cool, that's chill, Theo actually asked multiple, and I don't have them all because I didn't want to get a copyright strike, but Theo, he asked a lot of questions about the pharmaceutical industry, really good questions that, you know, I very rarely hear people talk about. Megyn Kelly, she asked Trump a few questions about vaccines, and I thought that was cool. most people just kind of softball Trump on the right, and it's just like, oh, you're the greatest. And then on the left, they just lie and they're like, you killed everyone with COVID. So there's never like a middle ground question. That's the problem with the media. The left just acts like Trump did something he never did, and they're constantly just like complaining about things that are like don't even really matter. And it's like, I want you to question Trump, but you're just doing it in such a weird, fake, dumb, aggressive way. And then you have the right, and a lot of the right-wing people that interview him, they just kiss his ass the whole time, and they never ask interesting questions. And I don't want to be rude to others, but I do feel like on the right, being a part of the quote unquote culture for years, is people just get trapped and it becomes like an NPC thing. Like on the left, they just have phrases and Michelle Obama speaks and nobody really thinks about what they're doing. They're just all doing it because everyone else is. That happens on the right too. So like there's so many questions you could ask in an interview, but it seems like the same 5-6 questions get asked. And if they bring up big pharma, they usually just talk about mandates or the vaccine. Nothing wrong with that. I'm just saying I've never heard someone ask these type of questions to Trump or anybody in politics. So Theo was explaining the fact that America and I think New Zealand are the only 2 countries that allow pharmaceuticals that aren't over the counter to be put on the television. I think he worded it differently, but I know what he meant and what he was talking about because there are only 2 countries that do that. He asked about the lobbying and how to fix it. Like, even though he's like a goofy comedian with a mullet, and I'm not being rude, like I think Theo would probably like he'd call himself that. It's the same thing with me. Like people, when I came out, they're like, oh, he's a long-haired hippie or whatever. Like, call me what you want to call me, but like, why am I doing some of the best journalism? It's not to brag like I'm so great. It's just to show how bad everything is. Like Theo, he doesn't have to do anything. Like he could just joke around and no one would care. He has no pressure to ask these questions, but I feel like genuinely he wanted to. And it turned out that he kind of asked Trump more interesting and more deep diving questions on pharma than anybody has. And here's a compilation of what I could pick out. I missed a little bit, but just to get it, a feel of what Theo asked, like really good questions that weren't just like, rattled off like randomly, like well thought out and smart.
But one of the things I wanted to ask you about was like, so there's like the big pharma lobbyists, like there's 1,800 big pharma lobbyists in Washington, D.C.
Right.
There's only 535 total representatives or senators total. Like, how do we stop that, man? It just seems like it's obviously killing people. The lobbyists are winning, it feels like.
Yeah, they're winning. They're making a lot of money. Absolutely.
Can you stop that? Can a president stop that? Like, how do we stop that?
Well, one way you could stop it is to say, if you're going to go into government, you can never be a lobbyist.
Sackler family with the drug companies, they hired people that were on the FDA to work for them so they could loophole the laws.
Yeah.
Or, but can we outlaw lobbyists or we can't do that? It's pretty clear that the establishment doesn't like you, I would say. What do you think?
Well, I think the people like me.
Oh, yeah, the people.
We're leading now in all the polls. And
why does the establishment keep trying to sink you? Like, what is it that they are so afraid of?
Well, in some cases, the things we're talking about right now, they want to sell product that I'm not interested in. They want to have.
Yeah, so I mean, I would check out the whole thing if you like it. I know a lot of my people that watch my show, they love Trump. Like if you like Trump, to me, it's one of the more interesting convos he's had. If you don't like Trump and you've been annoyed with him for years like me, you might still be annoyed at the interview. I have no idea, but I enjoyed it. I wanted to cover it real quick. And just props to Theo for really kind of diving at big pharma and asking unique questions. Because even with the pandemic, I'll say this before I move on. Everybody, like some people instinctually were against it, like no lockdowns and no mandates. And they're totally right. But very few people were able to really dive into like how we were getting scammed, like how they were counting the cases, the PCR test, who invented the PCR test? What did he say about it? How were they using it? How many cycles were there? It's confusing. How, they say the death rate's high. One of the first videos I made in March was I said, listen, I'm not a scientific expert by any means, but I'm also not stupid. So when they say the case and the death rate are this high, who's getting tested? No one's getting tested. Athletes are getting tested, and people who are sick are getting tested in hospitals. They didn't have mass testing. Once they got mass testing, the death rate went down. The death rate didn't just go down after 2 months. It's an equation. It's like if only 1,000 people are getting tested and 100 people have COVID, that's a 10% rate. But if millions of people are getting tested, you understand what I'm saying? I mean, I think people are smart enough to get it. So these are the things that I was thinking the whole time. And I was just so annoyed that most people in politics, they're like robots. All they know how to do is say, close the wall or open the wall. It's like, yeah, close the border. But, that shows kind of like, are you paying attention? Can you figure this stuff out? And Theo, to his credit, he doesn't have, I have no expectations for him. He's just a comedian with a podcast. But the way he asked about big pharma, he asked 6 or 7 different questions that you'll almost never hear on television. It's always like, oh, this and that. And like people want to just say, like, the left will convince their audience and say, we're fighting big pharma. And they believe it. They're like, we're lowering the drug prices. You think Democrats are fighting big pharma after 2020 through 2023? They supported lockdowns and mandates. And then the right will be like, well, we're fighting big pharma. Also, that's not true, like kind of, but not really. So through partisan politics, people just get so tricked. And the truth of the matter is what Theo was bringing up was it's the lobbyist, and Trump didn't say it, but Trump took money from Pfizer. Trump took money from pharmaceutical lobbyists. Biden took even more money. And Trump hired Scott Gottlieb, who was a pharma guy. And then he went to the FDA and he left and went back to a Pfizer board. So this problem that Trump's talking about, I'm not saying that Biden's any better, but he has the ability to hire somebody who's not a pharma shill, but he did hire the pharma shills too. So it's not to like bring that all up now and blame everything on Trump. It's just to say, like, if you just ask basic questions, you get basic answers, but we never get to the bottom of it, which is there is an establishment or a deep state or a lobbyist group, with this topic that is clearly more powerful than most presidents. So props to Theo. I thought it was interesting. Before, real quick, I'm going to just do this real quick, and then I'm going to get to Tim Ballard called out Candace Owens over what she was saying about human trafficking in Israel. And I want to play the clips and just give my, I don't know if I'd say third-party response, but that's what came to my head, third-party response to what I think about that. But I just want to show you guys this real quick because, I don't do many sponsors, but I'm starting to because Facebook and YouTube, they're not always super reliable. So I'm working with companies I trust. And unlike other shows, I'm not out here just hawking 50 products a show or 50 products a week that I don't believe in. Very little and things that I believe. So just show you real quick, ancientessence.com. It's ANCIENTESSENCE.com, ancientessence.com. I have the link in my description. I have the link in my podcast thing. So whether it's YouTube, Facebook, Rumble, Apple, Spotify, you should be able to find it. They got frankincense, they got myrrh. It's only $9. It's on sale, and you get 10% off with my code. So check that stuff out. And like I said, if you've heard of essential oils, you already know what they are. Like I've always used them for multiple things. I think it's good fragrance. I like to dilute it with water for years and just spray it in my house because it's a good way to get a good smell, but with the, there's all sorts of essential oils with good effects. So it's easy for me to sell. It's something that I believe in. And I just want to show you guys real quick. The code is DREAM, 10% off entire order at ancientessence.com. If you know what essential oils are, check out their essential oils, good price, pure stuff. And then if you've never heard of it, look into it. I mean, I heard about essential oils probably like 3, 4, 5 years ago. And every person I know that is into health, or every person I know that's really into holistic living, or, getting outside the establishment and corporations, everybody knows about essential oils. It's good stuff. Don't need to oversell it. Check out ancientessence.com. Use the code DREAM for 10% off. And I appreciate on top of that, if you support the sponsors who support my show, it just helps me out, helps the show out. And since everything's always changing, I'm going to do quality over quantity and just work with certain companies that support me. And for this company, ancientessence.com, the founder, the owner, is a big fan of the show. So that's how we got in touch. Check it out. I got some here. To be honest, I got like 20 bottles. So, I got the inside scoop, and I got enough essential oils for a long time. Check it out. Thank you, guys. And let me get into this video from Tim Ballard real quick. So I just want to read, because I want to be as fair as I possibly can be. Like, Tim Ballard is not trying to cancel Candace Owens. He just disagrees with what she said about human trafficking in Israel. Let me just read his comment, because I just want to be as fair as I can with the news. Tim Ballard said, while I took issue with what Candace Owens said about Israel, please stop the stupid and even dangerous smears against her. She should not be censored nor smeared. Let's just have a discussion about this important issue. I agree with the vast majority of what Candace stands for outside of this issue. Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. So, I give Tim Ballard credit for that, because he didn't have to do that. Like, a lot of people are really mad at Candace for a lot of things. He's like, listen, I agree with her on a lot. I'm not trying to cancel her. I just want to say what I want to say. And I respect that. Whether I agree or disagree with Tim Ballard, I respect his approach to this. He's like, this is what I think. That's it. I'm not trying to start a huge thing. With that being said, I'm going to do this as a pretext, and then I'm going to get into it. The Tim Ballard thing, like I never really picked a side, because I know like there's lots of people that said like Tim Ballard is like the best, you know, he's fighting human trafficking. He has this movie. Everyone told me to go watch the movie. I think it was called Sound of Freedom. And I never saw the movie. And I want to tell you guys why. I don't like sad movies. Like I don't like movies at all. I was with someone like last week and they were asking me about movies and they're like, you really don't know anything. And I'm like, no, I haven't seen a movie in like 5 years. I've seen some, but I'm just not a huge, I like documentaries. I like YouTube videos. I like podcasts. I like books. You know, I like some series, I guess, but I'm just not a big TV and movie person. But if I'm going to see a movie, you got to give me a selling point. Like it's funny. It's really deep. This one, I know it's deep, but it just sounds sad. It's like, I know human trafficking is real. It's terrible. Like, I don't want to see a movie about it. That's just my personal opinion. Like, it's not the type, like sometimes women are like, let's go see this rom-com with like Drew Barrymore. And I'm like, ugh, it's just not my genre. I like comedy movies. I like things like The Truman Show. I'm not really into like sad movies like that, because I'm sure it's got to be really sad. With that being said, I saw a lot of people say Tim Ballard's the real deal. He knows what he's doing. This is great for the world. It's promoting human trafficking. And then there was a lot of backlash through the media and conservatives who said like he's not really who he says he is or whatever. Or, you know, he's a fraud and he got in some drama. But anybody that gets successful on the right is going to get into some sort of media drama, because even if you are like the truth, they're going to hate you anyway. So I pretty much stayed neutral. I'm just being honest. Like I never smeared Tim Ballard because I like to be factual with what I'm doing. I never was like, you got to see this. I just kind of, you know, this is a good thing with me too. Sometimes I could just be patient. You know, everybody feels like they have to be first. They have to have an opinion about everything. They have to be this. They have to do that. They got to be mad. They got to be happy. It's too much. It reminds me of like dramatic women. Like, and I'm not saying men don't do it. They do it, and it's annoying. It's just like, you know, I like to speak about what I know. I like to be accurate. I like to be on point. And if I don't have enough, I'm fine with waiting a year or so to kind of figure out an end that makes sense for me, that makes me inspired to talk about it. This is my end, you know, and I'm going to speak just on what I know. With it, I watched the video because I was like, this is interesting. Okay. Candace Owens is talking about human trafficking. I think she said that a lot of pedophiles flee to Israel, you know, sometimes or something along the lines. And then she's talking about Frankists and bloodlines of like, you know, they're not really Jews, they're Frankists, and that they're using other Jewish people. And like, that was the whole thing that set everybody off. Everyone had an opinion. This person's that person. And then Tim Ballard came out and he's like, I have an opinion about Israel and human trafficking because I've worked in the region, and he's probably the most famous person in the world right now when it comes to combating human trafficking. So I was like, I got to see this. This is going to be interesting. And it is. So here's the clips. I'm going to go through 4 clips of his talk and just kind of respond to it as you know, politely as I possibly can. So here's the first one, and let me know what you think in the comments.
Hey guys, I want to respond to what Candace Owens said about Israel. Kind of broke the internet with her comments, saying that these aren't real Jews that were there, that established it, that the Rothschilds and others ended up being the founders of the nation state of Israel after World War II. I believe it was established in 1949. Just a couple of comments as someone who's been working human trafficking cases and organ harvesting cases in that region and around the world. Again, Candace is a friend of mine. She's actually funded many of our rescue operations. I'm not picking a fight. She jokingly said she'd punch anyone in the face who says that the U.S. should ally with Israel. And I know she was joking. So Candace, please don't punch me in the face. I love you. I still consider you a friend, but I have to respond to a few things.
All right. So he starts with the video and he's like, listen, Candace, I have to respond like to what you said about, you know, Israel and bloodlines. And I don't know what he was referring to with what she said about allying with them, but apparently he knows more than I do. All right, let's play the second clip where he starts getting into it.
One, first and foremost, is the bloodline thing that important? We do know that many a Jew, hundreds of thousands, maybe millions, did gather there after the Holocaust, having nowhere else to go. Others went there too. Are you going to find accounts of pedophiles running there to hide? Probably.
So he says, like, is the bloodline aspect of it that important? I'll say this before I play the next clip. Like, I saw the viral clip that Candace did. Everyone always likes to straw man it and make it something it isn't. Like, you could be offended by it. You could hate it. You could not agree. I don't really care. But it's like, can you explain yourself? Where he's like, why does the bloodline matter? Well, from what she was saying, and like I've said in my last video, this is not a theory that I know that much about, or else I would talk about it. But she was saying that there's a group that's kind of like a subsect, or not really that, standing in front of the group, doing messed up stuff on behalf of the group that's messing over the group. So it's like, that's why she's talking about it. I'm not saying she's right. I'm not saying you have to agree with it, but like everyone always acts so dumb. It's like, why does it really matter? It's like, well, she kind of explained it in the video of why it matters. For example, if you had, which I'm sure there are, like there's a lot of groups in America that are fronting as religious groups or racial groups that are doing a terrible disservice to their people and to everybody. So it's like pointing that out. It's like, why does it matter? I don't know. Like, can you say that the NAACP is a black group that you disagree with and say that they're kind of fronting for black people, but not doing good? Like, why does race matter? Why does bloodline matter? I don't know, because the group is based on a race. Like, I'm not saying you have to agree or you like or dislike the NAACP, but everyone's always acting so stupid. Like, why does that matter? It's like, she said why she thinks it matters. Are we just going to pretend like that wasn't said and just completely like straw man the argument? I just don't understand it, but to each their own.
But let's start with the fact that Israel is the only democratic republic really functioning.
I wanted to say this too, like before I played this clip. I think he said it in the other ones. I might have missed it, but he's like, like bloodlines and Rothschilds, like, yeah, maybe it was started with that or whatever, but why does it matter? Because like people fled there. Regardless of what you think, I'm like, America was founded by, the founding fathers. Some people say they were Christians, others say they were Freemasons. Like, it is what it is. Like, you can have an opinion about it, but like, he's like, like it was kind of founded by the Rothschilds, like Israel. It doesn't mean it's everyone's fault, but like, if you look up the Balfour Declaration, I believe that's like literally how the land was granted from Lord Balfour to Lord Rothschild, like quite literally. So it's not to say you have to like write everything off, but this is what I'm trying to say with Tim is like, he'll be like, why does bloodline matter? Well, she kind of explained why she thinks it matters. Like, why does this, what if they did like found the land? It's like, well, then they founded the land. Like, no one's saying that like everyone's bad because they founded it. Like they're always making up these arguments that no one's ever saying, like, oh yeah, why does it, I don't know, why does anything matter? Like, it's just like, no one said that it's everyone's fault, or no one said that like, I'll play more, but like, it's always these weird like side like conversations of trying to act so like confused by why people are making certain points. It comes across kind of like underprepared or disingenuous to me personally, but whatever.
But let's start with the fact that Israel is the only democratic republic really functional in that region, in a region full of countries who harvest terrorists and commit acts of barbarity and are doing horrific things. Okay. Frankly speaking, the United States per capita is probably the highest ratio of pedophiles. We're the number one demand for child sex material. We're in the top 3 for destination countries. Does that mean we should all be anti-American? So first and foremost, we should ally ourselves with the one country who's a democratic republic who give the power to the people. Okay, we should ally with people like that because we know that's the best form of government. So there's one reason, especially being that we have a lot of enemies in that region and we need friends in that region first and foremost. That's more important than tracing bloodlines.
So I could poke like 7,000 holes in that argument. But like, first of all, he goes on to say, well, the first reason that you shouldn't really do all that is like, Israel's a democracy. So now he sounds like every politician, Nancy Pelosi, Trump, Biden, Ted Cruz, like every politician says Israel's a democracy. So that trumps all. They're the only democracy in the Middle East. It's a political talking point that may or may not be true. You could say, let's just say it's true. What does that have to do with what she's talking about? Like, he even then goes and says, like America has even more than they do when it comes to like human trafficking materials. Well, America's a democracy or a republic. So like, what, that doesn't matter on this topic. Like, I understand that like a dictatorship might be worse, but like the topic that she's talking about, like the human trafficking or the pedophiles running there, like what does that have to do with them being a democracy or not? So like, that's the ultimate straw man where he says, the first things first, they're a democracy. Okay. And then he goes, and America does more, but America's also a democracy. So you're not going to question America because America's a democracy too. And then he says, well, should we be anti-American? I can't speak for her, but it's like everything is not anti-everything. Like, if I don't like the NAACP because I think they're doing a disservice to America and black people, doesn't mean I hate people or I'm anti this. Like, everyone overuses that word, where it's like, if you want to prioritize America first or just talk about things that are going on in other countries, it doesn't mean you hate them. I critique America all the time. I'm not anti-American. I'm pro-America, but anti-bullshit. And I believe the bullshit's weighing our country down. So I could be anti-bullshit in America, but if I'm anti-bullshit in another country, then I just must hate the whole, like it's like the straw mans are so ridiculous. And I want to post this too, because this was one of the top comments under his Twitter account. This is what people are talking about. It's not everybody. Of course it happens in America. Of course there's a bunch of degens and evil stuff going on in America, South America, Middle East. Like there's bad things going on everywhere. And I'm not ever saying that only one country's doing it. And I don't know that she said that. I would guess that she didn't. But even in Israeli publications and mainstream publications, they're documenting that when, you know, certain Jewish people get caught with certain crimes in other countries, not all the time, but sometimes they flee to Israel and Israel protects those people. Like it's well documented. It's in Times of Israel. It's in the Independent. It's in the Jerusalem Post. Like this is well known. So it's like, this is what I've said so much. It's not to cover for another country. I'm just being honest. Like Israeli publication will publish this stuff. They'll be like, you know, an opinion piece, like this is messed up. We shouldn't allow this. It's like Israeli media is more critical of Israel than Republican politicians and people like Tim Ballard. Like they act stupid. Like, what are you talking about? It's like literally the two biggest newspapers in Israel have covered this topic that she's talking about. Like, it doesn't mean everyone's doing it. It doesn't mean America's innocent. It doesn't mean they're the worst and we're the best. It's not, no one's saying that's what it means. She's talking about how, and many people have been talking about this for years, how there are certain people of a certain ethnic bloodline that might have a dual citizenship somewhere else that get caught for a bad crime in America or another country, and they get a safe haven in that country. Like that's happening so much so that mainstream media and foreign media is reporting it. But Republicans just act so dumb on the topic, and it's just, you're being so hateful, and why do you hate? It's like, who believes this stuff anymore? The number of people that are believing that stuff is getting smaller and smaller for this reason. I have zero problem with Tim. I don't know very much about the movie or what he's done, but I just give him the benefit of the doubt for a lot of stuff until I know otherwise. You know, it's not something that I really know that much about. It's nothing to do with him personally or even his work. It's just like on the basis of him calling out Candace, I'm glad he brought this video out, because it's like, listen, there's things that Candace says all the time that I disagree with. It's just like, you know, she's a different person than me. She has a different energy. She's different inspiration of what to say and when and how to say it. And her, like, it is what it is. I don't hate it, but it's like, if I have a problem with it, I have to articulate what my problem is. And the problem with a lot of people who have problems with what she says is they're not that great at articulating it. Like, your reason for her, like, what's a bloodline? Like, Israel's a democracy. Like, what does that have to do with any of the stuff? Like, whether America's a democracy or a republic, San Francisco's going to shit. Los Angeles sucks. New York is worse than it was 10 years ago. Like, we're a democracy. Well, people keep voting Democrat in those cities, and people voted for Joe Biden allegedly, and people voted for Obama and Trump. And it's like, the democracy in America does not solve all our problems. It hasn't lowered, you know, a lot of issues in this country. I'm not asking for a dictatorship, but it's like, what does that have to do with the topic? Like, imagine if I had a critique of America and someone said, well, we have to align ourselves with them because they're a democracy and we need friends there. Okay. Like, what does that have to do with what I just said? Like, that doesn't solve all the issues of the world. Like, people can have conversations about different aspects of society without you painting a broad brush like they're just shitting on the whole country. So it's just such a dumb response, in my opinion.
Second of all, let's just compare the trafficking in persons report from the State Department that they give every year. And let's look at Iran. Iran is tier 3. That's the lowest you can possibly be. In other words, they could be considered a human trafficking state. Okay. Israel is 2, meaning they can do more, they can do better. And it's jobs like mine and other NGOs and the U.S. government to help and support them. But they are interested in fighting pedophilia. Okay. They're tier 2. They should be tier 1. And our job is to get them there. Especially because, again, they are a democratic republic that shares enough values with us that we should ally ourselves with them. If we took this logic too far, we should be also anti our own country, anti-American, you know, because of what's happening at our borders and because of the fact that we have probably more pedophiles per capita than anywhere else. It's a fight we need to fight everywhere, but especially in places that share our political values, democratic republics. We should be helping them with all their problems, including cleaning up pedophilia. And at least they're willing. At least they've made efforts. At least they're tier 2. So let's not go so far as to make conclusions based on, what bloodlines we can trace to here or there, as much as what we're looking at right now and the safety of children right now. We should ally for sure with Israel. We should support Israel for many a reason.
So once again, I mean, multiple problems with that. First one is like he says, well, we should be anti-America if we want our borders are open and this and that. Every conservative, everybody, including Candace Owens and like people like Andrew Tate or Dan Bilzerian or all these people that are like controversial now, they all have talked about closing borders for years. And when you talk about closing America's border or how Biden sucks or how our country's falling apart, no one accuses you on the right of being anti-American. If I say this country is turning into a shithole, Los Angeles is a shithole, the border's wide open, and our government sucks, no one's going to say you're anti-American. They're going to say you're pro-America because you're trying to fix America. Only with our greatest ally, it's like you say one thing, you say that people are fleeing there to get a safe haven, and then they're like, oh, you hate them? No. Well, we should hate ourselves because our border's open. We do hate the fact that our border's open, but nobody accuses us of hating the country when we say that. So that talking point is just so easily like debunkable or like, it's easy to combat. He also said that the State Department put out a list of like who is tier 1 and tier 2 and tier 3 when it comes to human trafficking. Listen, I love America, but I do not trust the State Department at this point. Like, how many things did they do to Trump? I know that they have a foreign policy that they already have in place. Like they were, giving weapons to Ukraine for a decade. They were supporting coups in foreign countries. Like, that's above my pay grade as far as what the State Department's doing. And I'm sure if they were listening or they are listening to this, they'll probably think you have no idea what you're talking about. We're doing this for the country or whatever. But it's like in general, they have an agenda. So when it comes to like the State Department weighing in on this topic, I don't think they're going to be unbiased towards Iran and Israel. Like obviously they hate Iran, just like they hated Russia for 5 years. They blamed Russia for a sneeze, this, that, Trump. Like there's countries that work with America and lobby America way more than Russia, but it's never said because America doesn't want to start a war with those countries. And if you really want to know why, it's money and power. Like it's not a hate speech conspiracy theory to say like Israel has money and power, like they do, and they have a lot of control, but so does like Saudi Arabia. Like I don't know, everybody has different narratives on 9/11, but the mainstream news is constantly saying that Saudi's government was involved and that the hijackers were Saudi. I'm not saying that everyone believes that, but if that were true, like why are we fighting Russia and Iran so hard? If that were true with 9/11, it's because Saudi has a shitload of money. They have oil money. They're starting to dominate sports in America. They're, they work with Dana White. They work with boxing. They are putting on great entertainment, So it's like they don't get that much flack because they're a huge part of our economy now when it comes to sports. And also they are just rich, like rich countries and powerful countries. It's a little bit harder to disagree with when they're our allies. But when it comes to Iran and Russia, I'm not saying Iran has no trafficking, but it's like, well, the reason Candace is wrong is because, the State Department, Anthony Blinken, or what are you talking about? What if the Department of Homeland Security said it? We talking about Mayorkas? It's like, I wish I could trust these people. I know there's great people in government who do great things. I know that there's, great agents that are busting traffickers and drug dealers and, but then also the border's wide open and the head of these government agencies don't seem to give a shit. So it's hard to really trust them. It's not to say no one's doing anything good, but like, that's the excuse is like, why mention bloodlines? It's like, what does that have to even do with like the point that you're talking about? And then it's like, it's a democracy. Okay. So is America. Like, the State Department says Iran is a higher stage than Israel and America is a higher stage. Like, okay. Like the State Department numbers, are they going to really tell us the truth about all that stuff? I don't know. I don't trust it, but maybe you do. So anyway, that's my response to that. I appreciate anytime anybody like makes a statement calmly and says, I'm not doing this to cancel somebody. This is my opinion. Similar thing, like God bless everybody involved. This is just my opinion on the perspective. And this is why I don't know that everyone has to sit down and debate, but free speech is so important because when you have ideas like this and she says this and he gets mad and he says this, that's when everything kind of comes out. And it's like, you can figure out what's going on policy wise or human trafficking wise, or like, who's fleeing to what country for bad crimes. Like it's never going to like be an issue that people could get to if no one's allowed to talk about it, and everyone is like poo-pooed when they bring it up. So I found it interesting, and I'm going to read a few comments now and probably just hang out for 20-15 minutes. Thanks for the show. Like I said, scientists early on, they found out that the ocean is cooling and they can't figure out why. The ocean, the earth, natural disasters, these things are above human understanding. I've looked into climate change thoroughly, probably more thoroughly than most. And even when they tell us certain things about Antarctica, they'll tell you that they know everything. But the reality is they've only studied so much because it's only possible, even with good satellites, like the amount of snowfall and, how deep things go when it comes to the ocean and what's explored. It's hard to be finite correct on this stuff, but they act like they are just so they could tax us and fundraise. One of the reasons I don't trust Elon Musk is because he wants to do a carbon tax. And it's like, bro, the earth is more like we could do better in certain ways. I'm all down for cleaning up the world, but you say this, taxing us is when is taxing us done it? I don't believe a global carbon tax is the solution. It's just another way for a global government to steal money from us. When Trump gave out the COVID checks and Democrats promise all this money to everybody, they're like, oh, we'll give you this. Just stop taking my money. You want to give me more money? Just stop taking my money. Every year, taxes, 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 taxes. I don't need a handout. I just need you to get your hand out of my pocket. So I don't need another money grab to fix the earth, especially when it's why do they not know that oceans are cooling? Maybe there's a lot of things they don't know about the earth. I mean, one time they said, we don't know why this ice is melting. It's global warming. And then they found out there was an active volcano under the glacier that was melting it that they didn't see. It's a volcano will melt ice. They're welcome to third grade science class. These pseudo intellectual idiots are always acting like they know everything. And sometimes they're the dumbest, least wise people on earth. Someone like Peter Hotez, who I believe thankfully blocked me on Twitter, I think, he was talking to Joe Rogan about vaccines and science. And Joe Rogan's like, do you eat, junk food? And he said, yeah. And then Joe Rogan just asked him why. And he was like, but he's like, but you're into health. And he's like, yeah, I know. It's the guy's an idiot. He's into health. He's telling everybody else how to be healthy, but he's not even healthy with the easiest way to be healthy. That's the American system. Everybody's fat. They put seed oils on everything. They lie to everybody. The pharmaceuticals own everything. And you got a bunch of lardos over here acting like they're, a specimen of health. I mean, I think one of our health lady, man, or whatever, officials, they switch genders in their later years, after they were in their 30s or 40s or 50s, they had a gender switch. They're obese, yet they're going to tell me how to get fit and what health is. It's people want to believe that that's not true with science, but it is. It's not to say everyone's wrong. It's not to say there are no great scientists out there, but most of the mainstream narrative is controlled by either the pharmaceutical industry or the government when it comes to science, which is why they're constantly wrong, because they're wrong in a direction that suits them. If they could take billions of dollars in taxes for you and they're wrong, they still get the money. If they're wrong about the COVID vaccine, but everybody got it and they made billions of dollars and, they invested in stocks, they still get that money. So it's they're wrong, but Pfizer made out, Moderna made out. Johnson & Johnson probably did pretty well. The government people who had the patents on it, people like Anthony Fauci, who, got more famous and I'm sure got more speaking gigs. There's people who capitalize when they're wrong, so they don't care when they're wrong. That's my opinion about the science stuff because I find it interesting as well. Let me know what you think about the first two videos that I played, the Theo Von one or the Tim Ballard one. I gave my opinion pretty clear. And let's see what people are talking about. With that being said, while I'm waiting for comments, I just want to show it one more time because I want to, be a good host. But ancientessence.com, check it out, guys. If you've ever wanted essential oils, they got roll-ons, they got just the liquid, and essential oils is good stuff. I try to stay away from mainstream stuff with everything I use, whether it's shampoo, conditioner. I've been that way for years. I don't use mainstream products. So when they hit me up, ancientessence.com, it was an easy fix. I looked at their stuff. I looked at their reviews. I made sure they were credible and people had good experiences. I'm always investigating and all was good. Ancientessence.com. Check it out. I like the frankincense and the myrrh. That's good stuff. Someone said Elon is DARPA. I mean, that's the thing. Elon definitely, at Elon's position, he needs to have relationships with global governments. I would think the same thing with Tim Ballard. He's like, I've done a lot of stuff in that region. It's like, in order to do human trafficking missions in those regions, you have to have relationships with our government and foreign governments. It's not to say you're a bad person. It's just like, Elon Musk, like, I like Elon Musk because he's funny, but yeah, he's doing sales all over the world to the governments. He's getting government subsidies in some cases from America. So Elon Musk is intertwined with the government, whether you like him or not. Like, that's just objectively true. And you can't be there without doing that. It's really hard. Like, you got to play a different game when you're that type of person. So I'm not saying it makes it right or wrong, but like, you don't have to trust a politician or Elon Musk. You could like them, but it's not your job to like trust them and believe everything they say, because they're playing a different game that you have to play. I'm able to play this game because I don't have $1 billion in own companies. Like, if I own companies and I'm selling, Teslas all over the world, I have to have a relationship with the government of China. I have to have relationships with the American government, or else they're going to steal all your shit. Like, I think Elon said that the government is like a company with a monopoly on violence. And that's true. It's like, it's not to say to like cuck and cave and be a sellout, but it's like, the truth is, like, the higher you climb up the ladder, the more people that are going to mess with you. So that's a question for every human being, is like, where do you want to take it? Like, do you want to be Jeff Bezos? He's got government contracts, right? Doesn't Amazon do the cloud contracts? You want to be Elon Musk? He definitely has had government contracts. Bill Gates, I mean, his stuff is obvious. So, I don't know. That's not a position I'm really looking. And I don't envy that personally. Some people are like, I want $1 billion. I want this. It's like, I don't know. It definitely comes at a cost. Like, you gotta sell something in order to like get there, I think. Thank you, Steven. I appreciate it. Stoked to see you on Real AF. Yeah, I hope it came out well. I think it did. So I appreciate you as well. Thanks. They're all part of the same club. Yeah, I mean, even with Elon, like, he was at the Netanyahu speech and they were like, how are you here? And he was like, oh, Netanyahu brought me as a guest. But that's the thing, is like, Elon's big in technology. Israel has a lot of technology. Like, whether people want to believe it or not, Israel's leading in a lot of technological, stuff that a lot of the world uses. So he's trying to like play his, I don't think he's trying to be like too brash on certain topics, and others he will be. I'm not, it's not an excuse. It's just like, that's the reality of the situation. Like, someone like that, you're not trying to make unnecessary enemies. I think Elon Musk has already made enough enemies. Like, like he's outspoken about a lot of topics. He's pushed the needle of free speech more than most people. I don't think he wants Israel or Netanyahu to hate him, which is understandable. Like, he's already doing so much stuff. Like, the last thing he probably needs is that. And then other people don't give a shit. People like Dan Bilzerian, Jake Shields, Candace, they're just like, it is what it is. This is what I think. I'm going to say it. So everyone has a choice in this world of what they want to do and what they want to say and who they want to be. It's free will. Someone said, what would Ghislaine Maxwell do? Probably something bad. I don't know. Someone said the blank crowd going after Dave Smith, they really show their true colors. I want to speak on this too, because I see it from both sides, and I'm not just saying that to play the fence. I'm just a thoughtful person. Like, on one hand, I get why people are calling people shills all the time, right? Like, someone that sucks, it's like, there are controlled opposition. There are people that are there just to play a role and screw you over. So I get why people call everybody out all the time, because it's like, that guy is just filling a void to trick us. But on the same hand, like you were talking about, certain people, they just criticize everyone all the time, where it's like, they fight with each other. It's like they're having these like proxy battles over nothing on Twitter, like it even matters. So this is why I don't align with anybody. I have friends, I have people that I trust. The internet's the internet. Like, I don't need new friends. I don't need to be in group chats. Like, everybody's like, oh, I'm part of this crew and this crew's mad at me now. And now the assistant's like snitching. And it's just like, everybody's such drama queens. Like, I'm a grown man at this point. I don't need drama with other people. Like, God bless you, you and your family, handle yours, enjoy your life, strive to be great, do something wonderful. And if we disagree or it's not a big deal to me. It's like, let's just keep it moving. But when it comes to like people getting mad at Dave Smith, listen, Dave Smith is as good as you're going to get. Like, he is who he is. He's not going to be who you want him to be. But if you're into, questioning narratives like that, like, Dave Smith's not your enemy. But you know, everybody gets mad at Dave. You got the Jewish community gets mad at him because he's telling the truth about certain things. You got people who are critical of the Jewish community mad at him because he doesn't go as far as they want him to go. And it's like, that's the reality of the internet. Like I have over 1 billion views. I have millions of followers. Everybody's got something to say, you know, and it's not to, like, that's part of the territory. But at the same time, you know, you could see why nothing ever really changes, because you can criticize the elites, but if you're a piece of shit too, it doesn't really matter. You know, like, that's the truth. Nobody wants to hear that, because they're like, I'm yelling at that country, or I'm yelling at these people. But who are you though? You know what I'm saying? Like, who are you? That's fine. You can get mad at them. Understandable. But like, what's your solution? Are you filled with ego? Are you filled with envy? Are you just annoying? Like, you know, like, what's your strategy? So I feel like that's what I see online, like, especially with Twitter. Twitter has become so toxic because everybody just beefs all the time at every little thing that they don't like. And it's like, you just heard me disagree with Tim Ballard in a very thoughtful way. Like, I pretty much, you know, disagreed with almost everything. Like, I thought it was off, but I did it respectfully, you know, because I treat others the way I want to be treated. That's how I would wish to be treated by someone who disagrees with what I say, because, you know, I'll be hardcore about things I believe in, but I like to have grace and be honest with myself. Because if I'm an expert, I'm an expert. But if you're just constantly acting like one and you're just getting mad aimlessly, like being angry or mad, that's what liberals and women do. I'm not saying men don't do it too. They do, but it's like, I'm angry, I'm mad, so I can make mistakes because I'm righteous. That's what liberals think they're doing. They're just mad and they're going to fight the system, but they're so emotional and angry that they can't see straight, and they're wrong about everything. You think just because you're a truther, or just because you criticize Israel, or just because you know Trump's working with Big Pharma, it doesn't mean that you don't need that same self-accountability. So there's a lot of people that I agree with a lot of what they're saying, but I just don't trust them because of how they act. You know, they're constantly beefing, or they're constantly like attacking others, or they're constantly like picking things that aren't important and dissecting them. Like, when it comes to Dave Smith, like, people in that community getting mad at Dave Smith, like the anti, I want to say an anti, but like, you know, the people that are critical of Jewish or Israel stuff, like they're dunking on Dave Smith. He's a Jewish man who's American, who puts America first, who has no loyalty to Israel. Like, he's not that hard to figure out. And like, if you're American, he's an American. Like, you don't have to agree with everything he says, but they're like, go further, go further. Everybody doesn't have to do everything. Everyone doesn't have to do what you want them to do or say what you want them to say, because they're not you. And certain things that like when Dave came on my podcast, he said things that I'd never heard before that were interesting. And I had different opinions on things than him too. But like, that's what was it. Like, he knows different things that I don't know. And then I learned them, and I'm like, wow, that's good to know. I didn't know. Like, everyone's not the same, you know. It's like, it's okay to be different. I just think people online, this is something I've noticed recently too. Everybody thinks like they deserve access to everything, and like they want your energy, and they want this and they want that. And the reality is, like, you know, just because Twitter's an open forum, like, you don't get access to everyone's time and energy all the time. Like, people have gotten so like, and it's like, you know, like, for me personally, this is all I could say, is like, I've done this independently. I've made a living. I've made a career. I've been successful for 10 years. Everything I do, and it goes both ways, because it's like, if no one cares about what I'm doing, then I can't really do it as well. So it's a two-way system. Like, there needs to be people out there who care enough for me to still make a career out of it. And then also, I need to care enough to want to do it. So it's like, when certain people like hassle me, and it's like, I could go away for 4 months and not do anything. So it's like, you know, I understand you don't have to agree with what I'm saying, but like, people who think I need to do everything they want, or they want me to do this, or they have an opinion about that, it's like, I don't even know you. You know what I'm saying? Like, I could stop making videos for 4 months, come back. Like, I don't even have, not only do I not have to agree with what you're saying, but I don't even have to do this right now. So, and then vice versa, you don't have to listen. But I'm never begging people to listen. It's like, if you don't want to, go do something else. I don't really care. But everybody thinks like their opinion matters so much, and like, oh, I deserve access to you because I like some things you do and I don't like some things you do. An example is like when people tell me what to and what to not do. Just as a recent example, like when people, I drop a rap song and some people say, don't do this, do news and politics, don't rap. They're not saying I don't like rap. I don't care. There's people on my Facebook say rap is crap. Rap sucks. I hate rap. I like rock music. I don't care. I don't block them. It doesn't bother me because it's like, they don't like rap. They don't like me. They don't like my rap. It's whatever. But when people say don't do, like, now you're giving me unsolicited advice. Now you think you're my father. Now you think that you're my friend. You don't even know me, and you're giving me advice on something you don't even know. First of all, whether you like my rap or not, this is just a fact of my life. Without hip hop, I wouldn't be here. That's what got me to Los Angeles. That's what got me basically like a year paid for when I was 23. I never would have been able to pursue my dreams the way I did if I didn't have a big following with hip hop first that got me to Los Angeles, that got certain things paid for me, and that at least got me out there to, you know, have my own career and just like think about doing things independently. So it's like, even if you're my friend or whatever, like, to say don't do this, you think you deserve access to my news analysis, which wouldn't even be there without that. So you're telling me not to do the thing that got me here, and I don't even know you. Excuse my language. Fuck you. You know what I'm saying? Get the fuck out of my face. Who the fuck do you think you are? Especially if you're doing the same thing or whatever. It's like, get away from me. You know what I'm saying? Like, people think they matter so much and they act like they're your friend or whatever, but they know nothing about you. They're not. They're just, you know, operating on something else, trying to give you unsolicited advice when they should probably be listening to you. With that being said, you know, moving fast forward, when it comes to hip hop music, I go 20 streams without even really mentioning it. I take my profession seriously. I do news analysis. I'm very well known for it. I could do 20 podcasts and never mention the fact that I do hip hop music, because this is what I do as well. And it's completely separate. It's not even in the same category. It's like Anthony Blinken doing State Department, and then he plays the guitar. Like, he's the State Department leader, but he also plays the guitar. You know, they're not related. This is not related to what I do. At the same time, though, I've had a lot of success with hip hop music. I have tens of millions of streams. I do shows every year. I've done shows in front of tens of thousands of people. This year, I've done shows, multiple shows, and I'm going to do more. And every time I do, I get a roaring applause. I have, you know, top level artists that I looked up to as a kid who went platinum asking me to do songs with them, telling me that, you know, rappers that I consider top 20 of all time messaging me, telling me that I'm great and they want to do a song with me. So you don't have to like my rap. I don't really care, but it's like, if it's not for you, I don't mind, you know? But if you're going to tell me not to do it, you're just being a hater. It's like, not only did it get me here to do my news analysis, but it's also still wildly successful. I hit #2 on the Billboard chart with a Christian rapper, you know, Bryson Gray, with, I spent $0 on marketing. It's like, I'm doing very well with that as well too. It's just not, I do other things, so I don't need to talk about it. But that's what bothers me with the internet, is people try to tell you what to do, and, like, you know, not posting on Twitter. I post on Twitter for the first time, and like, the messages, it's just like, it just feels grimy. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, what people are saying. And like, you know, the first thing someone said on here, I don't really care, but like, the first thing I said, they were like, Jew. It's like, I'm not Jewish, but also like, what is that providing to the conversation? You know what I'm saying? Like, you're just like, hey, like, you're like a little, and it's like, of course, that's part of the internet, but it's not the good part of the internet. Like, if you can articulate what is or isn't Jewish, or, you know, have an opinion about why that matters for the topic, I do it all the time. But it's like, you're just yelling things that aren't even true, like just talking shit to people and like framing them in a way that isn't even accurate. And it's just like, what does that accomplish? But that's part of this system. The thing is, at my point, and at many people's point, you ask yourself, like, how much do I want to be a part of this system? Like, there's pros and cons to the internet. For example, if you're on Facebook and Instagram, right? Let's just say you make no money from it. You're just on there as a consumer and a user of the platform, right? You start asking yourself, and a lot of people have done this because they're not making money on these social platforms. What is this doing for me? Like, the pros of Facebook and Instagram are, you can message people. You could talk to your friends. You can communicate with your family and hit people up that you want to hit up on Facebook or Instagram. Those are the pros. You know, you might laugh at a meme or get information and videos. These are all the pros of Facebook and Instagram. What are the cons? The cons are also astronomical. It stresses me out. Like, the second I get back to Twitter, I post something and read the comments, I could feel it in my back. Like, I'm a healthy person. I feel my back tense up, and immediately I get less physically healthy. Every time I'm doing certain things, not this necessarily, but like posting on Twitter and reading comments, I'm physically unhealthier. I'm mentally unhealthier. Like, this is doing nothing for my mental and physical health. And health is the most important thing. So at a certain point, every single person, they think about, like, should I be using social media this much? And if you're not making money on it, to me, the answer should be like, no, of course I need to make a career on it. So I shouldn't really tell my audience not to use it. And I'm not saying to not use it completely, but if you're logging dozens or tens of hours every day, all the time, it's like, and you're not getting that much out of it, like, what are you getting out of it? Stress, like, dopamine destruction where you can't even like smile because you're just looking at 50,000 videos. Like, it's toxic. And for me, it's like there's pros and cons. Like I use it for communication, I use it for education, and then also I use it as it's been my job for 8 years now, 9 years now. I've made a good living doing it and I still do. But it's like, what's worth it? I think about all that stuff now. Like, what do I get from Twitter every month? What's the money amount? Is that worth it for my health? Is the negatives and pros worth? And I've come to the conclusion with Twitter, it's not worth it. It's just not. I get money from it, but I'd rather throw the money back and just have a better life. And then with Instagram and Facebook, like, there's a lot of blessings of it, but all of it is like an equation of like, what's really worth it? And these are things I think about all the time. And I'm just having these conversations publicly because I don't know, everybody experiences it to some extent. But I think when you're commenting, just like myself, like everybody, I think about what I comment when I comment, because I kind of think about it in that deep of a way. Like I'm not just out here throwing comments, talking shit to people, disagreeing with them, being a critic, because I do my own thing. So it's like I get paid to be a critic. Like I'm a consultant for social media. So it's like multiple times a month, I'm making thousands of dollars to look at someone's social media. Like they're paying me to help them. So it's like sometimes people will criticize you and talk shit to you. And the reality is like, you should probably be paying me for consulting. Like not only are you not doing what I'm doing in any way, but you could benefit from my wisdom, and you don't really have any. You just have a blank critique that doesn't really add up. So it's like, these are the things where like certain people, they'll just say things and comment and throw things out there where they think their opinion matters so much. They think they're some sort of critic, but the people that are doing well, they're not out here critiquing because they're doing things, so it's like, it's just the reality of the internet. But there's a lot of great people in the comments, funny people in the comments, and I would say most people that are commenting are not that. They're definitely cool and adding value to the conversation. When I read Facebook comments, like a lot of them are funny and interesting because they're adding value. All I'm saying when people are commenting is like, think about what you're saying the same way I should, because it's like you're throwing something out there and then acting like it never happened. I don't know. I just feel like some people get that and some people don't. Someone said, who hurt me? Nobody. It's just like certain things are just annoying. So it's not a big deal. I'm just talking about it. Someone said, I get told daily how stupid I am for my 3 children having $250K whole life insurance. LOL. Well, I'm not a life insurance expert. Speak on cat turd. What do you want me to say about cat turd? Pretty sure he doesn't like me because I don't know. Cat turd, I'll give him some compliments first. He's done well for himself. He can be very funny, I guess, in like a dad humor way. And he's built a huge audience for himself just with a cat, profile picture. So he's had a lot of success on the internet. And I think that's impressive. It's not easy to start an account and get a huge following. With that being said, cat turd, he's cat turd. I don't know. It's like every boomer, Fox News, Sean Hannity guy that's overfit. Like he's just that energy. Like if it were a Power Ranger, like they all come together to create like the big dragon, like all the 5 Power Rangers. You bring every Republican boomer together and it creates cat turd. He's the ultimate. He's like the boss of Republican boomers. Sometimes you love what he says. Sometimes it's cringe. Me personally, I'm not a fan. I think most times people get mad at me on Twitter. They're usually retweeting him constantly. Like I think he's like not knowing, but like brainwashing a lot of conservatives, and just like turning their mind into shit. But God bless the guy. Like he's got a feed. He's built it for himself. He's built his platform. Good for him. But I've talked about that for years, and just recently I think he's been getting in more trouble just because he's like, talking shit to more and more people, and he's not really, I don't think, as bright as he thinks he is. So, that'll all handle itself. But I wish him well. I think we probably have very similar values. I just, sometimes it's like a personality thing and an energy thing. And some people like certain things, some people don't. That's another thing with the internet as well. It's like, it's creating this interesting thing where like, it's amazing to get your message out there and it's amazing. But if you ever listen to like celebrities, especially before the internet, like a lot of celebrities went crazy. Childhood celebrities go crazy. Michael Jackson I'm not saying he went crazy, but like his life was crazy, you know, like it's because humans, just like when you get so much and everything's like, it's too much. It's like if you're at a party and there's tens of thousands of people, it's like you want to go home and just chill for a second. So the internet has brought that to everybody. Even if you're not famous, like if you're famous, then you have millions of opinions coming towards you. And it's just like a Michael Jackson situation. But even if you're not famous and you're just a user, you still have the negative psychology of being famous, but you're not even famous, where it's like you're just dealing with millions of opinions going around all the time. And it's not healthy. It's not fun. You know, like most people can't handle that. It's too much. Cause like, would you rather be in a room with two of your best friends or in a room with 50,000 people, of which you can't stand half of them? And that one's annoying and cat turds yelling dad jokes at you. Like that's the internet. It's good. It's bad. It's weird. It's cool. It's too much. It's, you know, it's not enough. So I think everybody's experiencing this like psychological overload, and nobody's really talking about it that much, or at least like diagnosing it, because um it's so new. You know, it's not been around forever. The kids who were born with cell phones, they're the first generation. You know, people don't really know, and it's constantly evolving. So like, what's the next thing? But yeah, I just think that personally is like, for me, and this is what I was trying to say before. Like, I don't know if it sounded weird, but even in my own personal friend group or whatever, and people that I talk to, I'm not the type to be in a bunch of group chats. You know why? Because like, dude, like I turn off all my notifications because I'm getting thousands of notifications on Facebook, Instagram. I would go crazy if I gave a shit about everything. Like, I don't even see them. And then I'll read a few comments here or there. But in general, like people that are in group chats in this era of Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, MySpace, I'm just talking to you, get it, like all the social medias. It's like the last thing I want is more messages. You know what I'm saying? Like if I got a group of 5 friends, if it's important enough, I'll text my friend. I don't need to be in a group chat. Bling, 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 bling. Like that's not fun for me. Fun is closing that all out, meeting someone in person, a friend, and like doing something cool. Fun is not group chats and this and that, where it's like people don't realize this because they're trying to please other people and they're trying to like maintain social status with certain people, and they're in a group chat and a work chat and they tell themselves it's fun. And in some cases it is, because it's keeping you, you know, busy. If you have no company, it's like text companies better than no company. You know, I like to text people or call people when I'm bored too. But in general, it's like the truth is like people are the most happiest when they close the tabs. So even when I'm chill, like this week, I've been really chill. I've been really zen. I'm busy. I'm doing meetings. I have phone calls. I got people texting this and that. Like I'm like too busy. So it's like, in order to be happy, it's not taking on more things, it's taking on less. So whether it's a friend that's being annoying and dramatic, or somebody you have no idea on Twitter, like everybody thinks they need to access your energy, but the reality is like, I'm just trying to reject as much as possible. It's not even like a personal thing, but it's like there's friends that I don't even have time to talk to, that I want to talk to, that I might have to wait till next week. Why would I give you 30 minutes or an hour when you're just nagging on me like a crazy ex-girlfriend or whatever? Like, this is the reality of the internet, and it happens every week. But I think people are conditioned to think like, I got to do this, I got to do that, I got to be here. But the reality is like, what makes me happy is doing less. Like I want to do more work and more, you know, content in some ways, but less of all the other stuff, because my mind can't be in 70 different places to do one thing right. Someone said, yeah, you're here. But the thing is, I'm present right now, right? I'm not thinking about a million things. I'm not texting anybody. I don't have 50,000 things that I'm going to do. Like I'm here now. I'm present. This is my job. I enjoyed this today thoroughly. I was prepared. You know, everything was great. I had an awesome time. I'm having a great time now. But it's like, I don't have 17 tabs open. I'm doing the show. It's just one thing at a time, you know, choosing this is worth it. You know, this is worth it. Not arguing or, you know, having someone that you haven't talked to in a year, like crying about something. It's like, that's not worth it. You know, like I'm just trying to simplify my life and keep it chill, because when you have too much to worry about, you just get stressed out, and then you get pulled in like 1,000 different directions. And that's everybody. I mean, like, I'm sure everybody listening to this, like, have you ever had to do your laundry and go do something with your car? And like, if you have 5 things to do in a day, sometimes you just want to take a nap because you're like, I can't do all these things. It's overwhelming. I'm just going to do none of them. That's like me most days, you know, I'll work and do this, but it's like, I have so many things to get done. I don't know the last time I've had nothing to do, you know, like even when I'm off work, it's like, there's always something, this, that, you know, bills never stop. So it's like, I think the key to happiness is definitely, and also the key to being Like if you're a family member or a friend, what makes a family member or a friend like one that you enjoy their company? Obviously, there's a lot of things, but the most important thing is being present. And a lot of people forget that nowadays because their mind's all over the place. They're on their phone, they're doing this. But the nicest thing you could do for someone that you're around is be present, be there. Because when you're there, you're listening, you're talking, you're in the moment. Your mind is not going other places. And a lot of times when people are, are not enjoyable to be around, it's not that they mean to be mean or anything. They're just suffering internally. So then their internal suffering is causing them to not be able to be in the present moment because they're just too scattered. So it's, life is tough. It's never going to be easy or perfect. But at the end of the day, I think like wise people know that you want to simplify as much as possible and like close the tabs in your mind, because if you're constantly other places, then you just kind of become a dick, or you just become someone that's not there, not listening, not paying attention, not giving your effort to people in your actual space, and then it's like, what's the point? Like someone said, my name is Matt, nostalgia notes. He said, my name is Matt and I'm here to say every rapper in the industry is gay. Nostalgia notes is 100%. He says 100% of the industry is gay. There's not a single non-gay rapper, according to Nostalgia notes. Thank you for. I mean, it's slightly funny, but it's also like you're being like that internet guy where it's like, I'm gonna tell you a statistic that's literally not true, but I'm gonna say it is. It's like, okay, there's some funny comments, but James said, know yourself and nothing will bother you unless you're doing something that feels wrong. That's also true. That's a wise one. Someone said disconnecting from social media is the best thing you could do for yourself. Yeah, I mean, for me, it was just like I needed a couple weeks to like think about stuff and rewire and reset, and it worked tremendously. Like I was having anxiety issues. I was having a lot of problems just from like doing so much and just like so many issues compounding. Putting it all down and fixing it, like I'm completely back to normal. Like and when things are wrong, it's scary because you're like, am I going to be stuck this way? Like, is this always going to be this way? Like, did I mess up? Now I feel great. Like I had issues, like my jaw felt crazy. Like on top of all the other stuff, I didn't even talk about this much. My jaw was feeling crazy. Like I don't know if it felt numb or weird. And I'm like trying to talk for an hour or 2 hours, and my mouth feels stuck. And I'm like, and I thought something was really wrong with me. I learned it was like TMJ. Talk to people in my family, talk to people. And like, I realized I have a retainer I'm supposed to wear at night. I wasn't wearing it. All it took was me wearing my retainer and all the pain went away. Like it was that simple, but like compounding issues that I wasn't addressing because I was so busy. It was like making it hard to even do my job. So taking a break sometimes definitely at least gets you to like fix things and reevaluate it to the point where I always knew with what I do, it's like, if I'm not healthy, it's not going to be possible. Like my workflow over the last 5 years has been crazy. So, it's relied on me being healthy and liking it. All right. Read a few more and then we'll take off. Thank you, $500. Someone said Anomaly is a Rothschild, I heard. Yeah, I don't think that's true, but I don't know. If they said it online, it might be. All right. Well, we'll end it here. Appreciate you guys. God bless you. God bless your family. God bless America. God bless the world. Appreciate you. Have a beautiful day. And check out the sponsor of this episode, ancientessence.com. Yeah. Link is in the bio. Thanks. Let me know in the comments what you're thinking, and I'll be back tomorrow or soon. Hey, what's going on, my friends? Just a few ways to stay in touch and support if you'd like to. The first way is dreamrare.com. We have blue beanies, black beanies, pink hats, other colored hats, freedom versus tyranny shirts, stay blessed long sleeve, God is great long sleeve, and lots of more cool items coming soon. Dreamrare.com. Check out the shop to support. Everything's made in the United States.